Hello and welcome to Top Flight. We are here with Sonia Samuels and with Natasha Phillips, and we have a bit of a focus on women in sport. So we're going to get stuck into what we can do about getting more women into athletics and making it a little bit more attractive. We have a race coming up in the Top Flight series, Shettleston. For the very first time, we are going to be in Scotland, and we have these two fabulous women competing here. And first and also congratulations, Natasha, on the call up for Great Britain.
Oh, thank you so much.
When is the race?
It's the 12th and 13th of April. I think my race is on the Saturday. So yeah, it's not too far away, which is exciting. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Is that the half marathon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also congratulations on the European under-20 record for the half marathon. So
thank you.
Yeah, we've got a rising star, and yeah, as Stacey just indicated, we've also got Sonia Samuels, who Olympian in the marathon.
Absolute legend in the sport. Yes, thank you.
I think I'm at the other end of my career now, but
it's fantastic though, because we're going to have two perspectives here. So You've got yourself, Rich. You've got such a long experience in the sport, a wealth of knowledge here, and then we've got Natasha, who perhaps you're just getting into the sport, really. I know you've got a background in triathlon and multi-sport, but really your athletics career is just starting. You're just beginning. So it's a great setup that we've got maybe two different opinions. I don't know, maybe there's going to be the same opinion, but definitely two different perspectives on where you were at in your athletics career. Yeah. So you already competed last year against each other at Shettleston, am I right?
Is the rivalry still there? So yeah, as Stacey just said, Top Flight is coming into Scotland, so we've got our Shettleston 10K coming up, of which you both ran last year. So we're excited to be in Scotland. I think you've done some of the other races up there
I've done Helensburgh as well, which is a little hillier. Actually, the Shettleston one's pretty flat. It's a pretty fast course as well, because you ran pretty quick on there as well. I think you've got the first record.
I got a PB. I think not last year, but the year before. Yeah, I got a PB. So it's a fast course. Fast and flat.
Yeah, it's a 2-lapper, so it's one way I'm thinking about doing an A and B race format again to get the elite race through before the masses start. So yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And we've got a strong lineup, and like you said, that's Helensburgh and Dumbarton are part of the Babcock series that RunThrough got into. So yeah, it'll be really good to get up there.
Yes. And both of you ladies are doing Shettleston, so that's coming up. So that's going to be in May. So our May event, we're going to be up there, and we're going to have you two fabulous ladies competing there. So I guess starting off, I think one of the things that we do see in athletics, certainly from ourselves, is that we've got International Women's Day coming up. We tend to have such a strong turnout, such a strong field with men in sport and men in athletics, men in running. But then when it comes to the women's side, sometimes we see a bit of a decrease in the field size. And I'm just wondering what your opinion is on why that could be, and what can we do about it to make the sport more attractive, get more women in racing, not just training, because we are seeing the running boom and we see so many people part of run clubs, and it's fantastic to see the participation levels increase, but how can we get them into competition and racing? So a bit of a wide question there for both of you. I don't know, Sonia, do you want to start off?
I can try and put my perspective on it. I think there's a lot of women out there who don't realise how good they actually are. And I think that's the problem. They don't want to stand on the start line because they don't know how good they are. And as well, a lot of women are coming into the sport a bit later. So they haven't gone through the school system, and they haven't raced, different events, cross country, track and road. That for me, it's kind of realising your potential, that actually just get stuck in and have a go at it, and don't be shy about it, because everybody's on the same level.
Yeah. Do you think there's an element of imposter syndrome with women in sport? And like what you're saying is that they don't realise how good they are.
Yeah, potentially. I do, yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like I did the World Athletics Women in Sport like webinar thing like quite a few months back, and I should have written down the ladies who made these quotes, but they basically took a similar quote and put a different spin on it. So there was one of the leading Kenyan ladies who's got a big training camp out in Kenya and stuff. She was saying, if you can't see it, be it. And that was her little turn of phrase. So like, if you can't see somebody up there being a trendsetter, like you be that. The ladies who are like very competitive, like all three of you obviously have that mentality. But then there was another lady who was putting more of a mass participation spin on it, saying like, well, if you can see it, you can be it. So if somebody's up there doing it, like you could also be there. So there was two different schools of it. But from what you're saying with like the imposter syndrome, it's like we need to raise the profile of the leading ladies and the next tier down and the next tier down to encourage that there is a massive amount of recreational female athletes. So it's getting them to go, look, you can see these other ladies doing well. Like you could be that too. So yeah, how do we bridge the gap? What's the ideas?
But I think that's what's good about the top flight races is that you get different athletes, like different levels of women coming in and doing these races, and you kind of make a big deal about them on Instagram, which is really good for their profile as an athlete.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. They need that kudos. They need that encouragement.
Yeah, because what you do see is that normally it's only really high profile athletes that get coverage, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. Our objective is to give a platform to not just Olympians and international athletes, which is amazing, but also accredit women and men that are maybe sub-elite and trying to break into that world. Natasha, do you, I mean, obviously you're quite new to, you maybe, I don't know, 2 years into the sport. You have a background in triathlon. What is it that attracted you into the world of athletics?
I think I've always really enjoyed running. But I think there are, especially in the younger age groups, there are a lot of girls that do get into running. But I think you normally find with running and a lot of other sports, because I did swimming as well, you find that girls tend to like quit and like drop away from the sport at like 14 and 15 because like their friends aren't doing it and they feel like they should be, you know, maybe out partying or socializing instead of doing like running and sport and being active and everything. So I found like a lot of my friends dropped out of sport at that age, and I feel like it should be really important to get girls to stick in sport, and especially like to like between the ages of like 13 and 16 when the drop off is so big. Because I remember being like an under 17 athlete, and there were so many people in the start line. There'd be like loads of girls competing, and then when you get to the under 20s, there'd just be so much fewer girls competing, which is such a shame. But I think there should be a real emphasis on, you know, getting girls to stay in sport and just showing them how important it is to keep it going, like all the way through school, even if you know, there's other like influencing factors, you know, pulling them away, like partying and like stuff like that, because I think it's so important to keep that going, just so that they find the love for it earlier on and they'll keep doing it through their 20s and 30s and 40s. So I think that would make a big impact in, you know, seeing a lot more women competing and running.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes into the conversation of mentorships and having role models and mentors. Now, for me, I quit the sport when I was 15. And luckily, very, very luckily, I had Kelly Holmes contact me as part of her mentorship scheme. She had a program called On Camp with Kelly, and her objective was exactly this, of keeping female athletes in the sport, because there is that huge dropout rate at the age of 15 and 16, and because of her I got back into the sport again. Do you think we need to have more? A couple of questions actually for you. One, do you have a mentor, and do you think we need more role models and perhaps mentors in the sport?
I definitely think we do need more mentors and role models, but I think just now I really look up to people like Eilish McColgan and Laura Muir and stuff, especially because we're from Dundee Hawkhill as well, which is the club that I'm part of. But I think it is important to see like other women, you know, excelling in running and in distance running throughout like all age categories. But yeah, I think that would really help. It would really help a lot of people think that, you know, maybe they could do that. Like a 14-year-old at a club and might think, oh, that I can see somebody else do that who's older. Like I want to be like them and I want to make it to the Olympics or the Commonwealth one day. I think that would really inspire a lot of young athletes, which is important.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention Eilish there, because I messaged Stacey earlier. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff that Eilish has posted on social media where people absolutely slam her for like body shaming, call her anorexic. They're really awful with the comments. She's so thick skinned, like she like so thick skinned. Like, is that a factor? Like, obviously this doesn't happen to me. They just message me saying, "Oh, you're so stacked. You'll have to do your tag." But no, like obviously. You were the one who sent me the messages.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh no, it was Mick. Yeah. So is that a factor? Is it that like there's this isolation? You said there's a dropout, but then is it like a self-fulfilling prophecy that the girls who are staying in sport, there's this isolation factor. There's a little bit of bitchiness and jealousness, and that's a bit toxic on social media. And does that then put people off?
Yeah, such a huge question there, isn't it? Because you're exactly right. Eilish is, she does get a lot of negativity on social media around, and she's, as we know, she's unbelievable. She's absolutely outstanding. But yet she is still getting this negativity, even though she's at this level. And I do think that perhaps one of the barriers in the sport are body image issues, and that's perhaps a self-confidence thing, again going back to maybe imposter syndrome slightly. But yeah, I guess yeah, the whole social media thing, the pressure that brings on female athletes as well. I don't know what you ladies, what your opinions are on that, on sort of body image pressures at all. Is there anything around that you both have gone through?
I think for me, I'm just glad that I'm not kind of coming into the sport now with that pressure, because I'm not sure how I deal with it. I mean, Eilish does an amazing job of dealing with it. I'm not sure I could, because I look on there now and I see the younger generation. I'm like, wow, they're all looking and comparing at each other and, yeah, making comments. I'm just like, for me, that's not what running, and it wasn't about that. So I'm almost glad that I've kind of at the end for me, and I don't have to deal with that sort of thing, because for me, I never had any like real like issues with body image and stuff like that. But I think potentially that social media could potentially do that to me.
Yeah. Do you think, like, so we've got a women's only series as well, which is supposed to be like breaking down the barriers to entry. So this is not an elite level thing, but we're trying to get more women to get that first foot in the door of doing an event a bit more welcome and less intimidating, because it's not a mixed race.
Yeah.
Like, how much of a factor is that? Do we need to do more of that? And I guess the elite side of that is, we've had the discussion a few times, so there's all three of you can answer this one. I've had this discussion a few times about having a mixed race or having a women's only. So I've always gone with a mixed race for all of the races that I do, because I personally don't like watching when the ladies' race is massive gaps and isolated, and it just doesn't feel like competitive. So it feels like, in terms of the race itself, if you're in a mixed race and you've got men around you, you get a better race, and you get pulled around to a time. So it'd be good to get opinions on that, because some people do still message me saying, "Oh, should have a women's only race, women's only start line." But if you only have a few and the field spread eagle, then it's actually, I don't think it's a great experience. But
well, no, because you don't have the numbers there.
Yeah.
In the women's races. So you kind of fill in the gaps with the men. Plus, if you think of the advantage that the women have being pulled along by these men, we're more likely to run a PB, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so you like it then?
Yeah.
Well, also, Sonia and I used to train together well back in the day, right? And Lisa Dobrisky, shout out. Lisa's with us these days. Yeah, but Lisa sometimes beat me in sessions if it was on the grass.
Yes,
but there was
by 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, the Hollywell, I hated them reps. Anyway, Lisa would sometimes scalp me. But there was a few guys who were quite evenly matched to Lisa when she was just about breaking 4 minutes, and they absolutely loved it that they were running alongside Lisa Dobrisky, who was a world-class athlete, and they were like 4 minute 1500 guys, and to them it was unreal that they were like Lisa's training partner, and they would be competitive with her, but it was slightly different if the lads were competitive with each other. There's a different type of bravado there, but they love mixing it with Lisa. Yeah. And the same for you within the group.
Yeah, I think it's like it's great camaraderie. Like you just help each other on, don't you? It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. So for me, like, yeah, definitely mixed races. I do see if it's a qualifying race for a championship, I think you have to prove as a woman you can perform in a women's only race. I kind of get that because they always say that about qualifying races. But in general, I think mixed races are definitely the way forward.
Yeah. What do you think, Natasha?
Yeah, I definitely, especially road races, I think having a mixed race is really important. So I look back at all the races that I've done on the road, and the majority of the time you do find yourself like in a pack of men, and it really like pulls you along. It's like having like a slipstream behind them. I think it's really good. I always try to like seek out like a group of guys I can kind of just like nestle behind and just get dragged along. So yeah, I think I really do prefer the mixed races. Obviously like the track and stuff is slightly different, and especially when it's like championship races as well. But yeah, I think the road races, I do definitely prefer them to be mixed.
In your training setup back home, do you have a women's group or do you have a men's group that you train with?
I train on my own, so I don't have anybody.
Oh, wow, so you're completely solo.
So yeah, I'd be happy with anybody, but no, unfortunately, it's just by myself. My dad, on my long run, my dad's on his bike, so I suppose that's kind of something. But no, apart from that, it's just solo runs.
Does he have a boombox, like on his backpack?
I've requested one, but unfortunately, there is not.
You know what, we do like this 5 mile uphill tempo, and there was once I went on the bike for the lads and everybody like smashed their PBs on it.
Flipping brilliant.
Yeah, I just had the tunes on the massive JBL boombox.
That's my marathon training. Nick puts the UE boom in the bottle holder. I've got a playlist for every marathon that I do, and he puts it on the boom. 2 hours.
There you are.
There you go. That's what you need.
Training enhancement.
Yeah. And I guess I think the world of running is also changing in terms of longevity as well. So, Tasha, you're up and coming, you're under 20s, but do you take a lot of inspiration from athletes that are, let's say, well, Sonia, obviously, we've got older, but the likes of even athletes such as Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, like she's still competing at such a high level on an international stage, what we would see as an older athlete, which was back in my day, it was basically that the general consensus was you had a career, it was in your 20s, after the age of 30, you're basically done. That's kind of the impression that I was given. Now we have athletes such as Sarah Hall, Des Linden, Chiara Diamato. I think I've just pronounced that incorrectly. But we've got female athletes now in their 40s competing at such
Kirsty Longley, top flight legend.
Obviously. Yeah. Was she 46?
I'm not going to comment because I can't remember.
You shouldn't say.
Do you...
21.
Exactly.
Natasha, do you seek inspiration from athletes which are not such as yourself in your under 20s and under 23, but also having athletes in their 30s and 40s and knowing that you've got such a long career ahead of you?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's so inspiring to just see like the longevity in the sport and how, like you said, you don't just reach the age of 30 and it's like, well, that's it, over. Because I definitely want to be doing this for really as long as I can. And when I do stop being like competitive, I still want to be running and just being really involved with the sport just as long as I can still run. So I think it's really important to have those amazing role models to look up to. So yeah, I'm really inspired by them.
Absolutely, I agree. And they've definitely inspired me as well. I look at the likes of Sonia and some of these other athletes. These are the women that are competing in their 40s, and it's inspired me to take up running again, because I thought I was done with the sport. And then I see these amazing women and I go, actually, if they can do it, like maybe I can get involved in it again.
Also competitive as well.
I know.
There's no chill. Well, since you train on your own so much, what is your so if I have to train on my own, my go-to session is the infamous or famous Steve Monaghetti session, which is basically like 20 minutes fartlek on off, because I know it's just like I can go out the door, do warm up, straight into 20 minutes, done. So within an hour it's boxed off. It's quite easy mentally. But if I was doing sessions on my own like all the time, that might I might get grinded down a bit. So yeah, what's your go-to sesh, or what's your favorite type of training?
I quite like going out. There's a route I do like where I'm at uni, and I really like doing, because when I go on the way out, like there's like a really bad headwind, so when I turn around it's like an out and back. I do like the second half, like a tempo, so I really enjoy that session. Or I quite like doing like tempo blocks, so I'll do maybe like 1K on, 1K off. So yeah, just changing it up kind of like that. But I definitely prefer being on the road doing a session in the track. But in the summertime I do my sessions on track, but I don't like it, because you're just running around in a circle far too many times. Because at least when you're out on the road, like there's stuff to look at and you feel like you're actually going somewhere. On the track it's just round and round, which is really boring.
Do you always listen to music or podcasts?
I listen to podcasts, but I don't listen to music. Also, just I kind of like listening to cars and stuff, so I don't want to be like unsafe. I know we can get like the over ear ones, but I just feel like the music can sometimes like mess with your running pace and tempo. So if like a kind of crap song comes on, it's like, oh, don't really feel like it anymore. But it's normally podcasts, or I just on my long run I don't really listen to anything. Kind of like it though, because it's like a meditation almost. You just kind of like let your mind wander. And I'm kind of used to it because I swim so often as well, and I can't listen to music when I'm in the pool, so that's just like silent. So I'm kind of used to that.
Yeah, swimming's a killer for me. Like that's like my last go-to for like keeping fit. And I did get them. You can get headphones that are underwater ones, and yeah, you've got to store the music on beforehand. But for me, they just kept coming out a little bit, so you got water in your ear. So I then got a swimming cap, put that over the top, but it then jams it in, and it was too painful. Then the ones with the ears open, lots of brands are available, but them ones, they are actually pretty good. The bone conducting ones, and you can hear. But from a race director perspective, headphones in races are just so annoying because nobody can hear what you're trying to say. Never get out of the way.
Health and safety.
Yeah, so you have I heard it right? She listens to the Top Flight podcast every day while running.
Yeah. Every run.
And going into that then, Natasha, will you still compete in triathlon?
I think eventually, yeah. I think in a few years' time I will come back to triathlon. Since so much of my training is cycling and swimming, it would be such a shame to just think, oh no, like I'll never do it. But yeah, definitely. I really want to do some half Ironmans. Maybe not the full Ironman. I think that might be a bit much, but definitely the 70.3. That sounds really cool, and I'll definitely be on that start line one day, and maybe doing some like Olympic distance triathlons as well.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll just have to see. So yeah, in the next maybe a few years I'll start doing that, but I'd have to actually start riding my bike outside, because right now it's just all inside on Zwift, so I'd really have to start cycling outside. So
in the brutal Scottish weather. And then
that's why I don't do it. That's why I don't go outside. I'd probably have to move country or something.
Yeah, you need to get yourself over to Spain or Italy and do some nice cycling out there instead.
Yeah, I wish Swift did like a pay-as-you-go, because I had the free trial and then I paid for it a little bit when I'd had like some injuries, but because I only do it to like supplement running, it wasn't worth paying like the monthly or the weekly or whatever it is just for doing like 1 40-minute session or something on the bike. So I just use the free Tax or TACX or whatever it is. But it is pretty brutal. Just have to put it up in front of the TV and watch like some nonsense.
I was on a bit of Zwift this morning there. I like a little bit of Zwift every night. That's something else that's changed as well that I think is helping women stay in the sport is back in my day, and maybe you can maybe say the same as well, Sonia, is if you didn't run, then you're not going to be good at running. And now it's completely changed. It's more acceptable to do different forms of cross training, whether it's arc, cross trainer, swimming, biking, and that is really aiding training now, whereas back in my day it was like, no, cross trainer's not going to do anything, biking's not going to do anything. You need to get quicker at running, you need to run. And I think that's just that mentality has led historically to so many injuries, and now the theories have now changed. There's science out there now that backs up actually you don't have to run huge mileage. You can supplement a lot of your steady state cardiovascular training on the arc trainer, on a cross trainer, on bike, and you can still get the same training benefits. I wanted to touch, Sonia, on your training, of course, now that you are a mother of a 4-year-old.
Yep.
Yes. How do you fit in your training? Because I have witnessed, I am not a mother myself, but I have witnessed my sister and my sister-in-law, and they struggle to fit in breathing and eating during the day, never mind training. So how are you fitting it in? How are you doing it?
I think it took me a bit of a long time to adjust, actually. I think I didn't do my first race until Faith was like 18 months old, so I just took my time. I took about 3 months to get back into running, and then obviously before Faith I was kind of running twice a day, most days, up 5 days a week, plus a couple of strength, a couple of core sessions. Whereas, now life's a bit different. I literally run once a day because that's all I have time for. Because for me, I have to save some energy for a 4-year-old because, they're just full of beans. So, I run in the morning, and then I don't do anything in the afternoon. And then I also have a rest day every week in there as well, which I never really... I would sometimes have a rest day, but it wasn't in there every week. So... yeah, and I think just with me getting older as well, I can't do the back-to-back sessions like I used to do. I can't do the volume that I used to do. So again, it's maybe supplementing it with a bit of bike as well. I can't swim, so I go on the bike, okay? And it's just kind of finding a different way, being a bit smarter about it. I would say that I've started...
Can I just stop you there, sorry. You can't swim, or you just don't like to swim?
I can swim. I just don't like swimming. Okay, I can swim. Right, okay. Although I think Faith can probably swim further than me these days. But I do strength training now. I've got my own. What I did was I converted my garage, and I've got a squat bar in there because I don't have time to go to the gym. But I've got half an hour at lunchtime. I can go in and do some squats and stuff. So that's how I fit it in. It's kind of seeing what you've got on that day, and it's like, right, what can I fit in today? And just being a bit nicer to yourself, because they're not hard on yourself when you can't run. So
that's it, isn't it? It's just not being hard on yourself. And what I've struggled getting back into running again is comparing myself to the training that I used to do, and how I used to train. God, I was doing like 3 sessions a day, and that would be a run session, a weightlifting session, and then another run in the evening. I can't do that now. I'm absolutely goosed. And it's so hard to not compare yourself to previous training when I was a full-time athlete, and now I'm not, and I've got all of these responsibilities and things, and it's so hard to not do that.
Yeah, you've just got to try and train smart, haven't you? Just pick what's the best element, what's the maximum I can get out of the minimum amount of time and effort.
Exactly, yeah.
Just before we wrap it up, I just want to touch on a few things, Top Flight series specific, to see, can you ladies give us even more ideas? So obviously we've said effectively, you said, Sonia, we need to make social media look good for these athletes. Make it look cool. We want in live stream. We haven't got like an unlimited budget or a huge budget like BBC, but we have got a second camera to follow the ladies' race as best as possible. It's easier said than done when somebody's cycling and the ladies are mixed in amongst the men's field. So we're trying with that. We're trying to make sure that we've always got as balanced content as we can, even though there's obviously a lot more men than women in the races. But we're trying to, at least on social media, raise the profile all of the time. The one thing we have been criticised for is prize money, and we've discussed this loads off air and on air. So basically with the prize money, it's £200 to win a race, and then everything else is time-based, and deciding on the times wasn't an exact science because they're loosely based on what was 30 minutes for the men, and then looking at IAAF points and looking at how far the times were from the world records. I didn't want to, or looking at how many people in the country had run that time, men or women. It's not an exact science and it's not perfect, but I didn't want to set the lady standard. Let's set the men's on what's the top 50 man and what's the top 50 women. It doesn't really make sense because we have had really good women running our events. And if the bar's set too low, then they can just turn up and tempo and pick up a massive bonus, which is then just a bit pointless. Like it needs when the ladies are running and win the race, we want a headline. So they've got to have run a fast time because that then sells the race going forward. So yeah, setting the times for the prize money, we can continue to look at that, but I think that we've got it about right. And then the other side of that is we've got an overall series. So if you do 3 races, you qualify for the overall series, and then it's your best 3 scores. So it's not asking too much to do 3 races across a year. And the barrier to get into the women's prize money for that is obviously then a lot lower because it's less competitive. So in the men's, you could be like at Battersea Park, we paid out to the top 8 and the top 10 get points, but 12 men ran under 30 minutes. In the ladies, the field was relatively a lot shallower. And at Surrey at the moment, we've got 3 ladies entered. So if you just turn up and finish 4th lady, you'll pick up quite a few points. You do that a few times and you'll be getting £600-700 at the end of the series. Yeah. So the barrier to getting that series prize money is way lower than in the men's. So yeah, I just thought any input on that or any other ideas of how can we do better job for the ladies, let me know, either now or off air, or people in the comments, whatever. Go.
And I think that we'll wrap it up there. Natasha and Sonia, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck in it's the World Half Marathon Championships, right? Coming up.
It's the
Europeans coming up. Good luck for that coming up in April. And then we will see you both at Shettleston in May.
Yep, fingers crossed.
Yeah, thank you.